The FBI is supposed to recruit top-notch computer hackers to win the battle of cybersecurity. But in reality, it has struggled tremendously to hire good hackers. Why? It turns out that the US federal government's marijuana policy has disqualified many talented hackers who, at the same time, are often weed smokers. But that could soon change as the United States is taking steps towards legalizing marijuana at the federal level. President Joe Biden has stated that no one should be in jail just for using or possessing marijuana, and has asked the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the Attorney General to quickly initiate the administrative process to review how marijuana is scheduled under the federal law. So what could this mean for the FBI and other federal agencies in terms of hiring the best staff? In this video, let's explore the intersection of marijuana policy and the federal recruitment in the US. Marijuana is a controlled substance in the United States, and federal agencies such as the FBI have strict drug policies in place for their employees. These policies typically prohibit the use of marijuana and other controlled substances, both on and off duty. In May 2014, when James Comey, the former FBI director, publicly said that he was seriously in need of hiring a great workforce to compete with global cybercriminals, he was deadly serious. And on top of that, Congress even told the agency that it needed to hire 2,000 more people that year, and the majority had to be the very best hackers. But this same group of people are regular weed smokers, something that goes against the federal government employment regulations. Unfortunately, Comey had to apologize to senators after also telling them that restrictions on marijuana had to be loosened to keep up with the cybersecurity workforce. He said, "I was just kidding about hiring pot smokers to work at the FBI." But actually, it wasn't a joke at all. You see, all federal agencies have always had the problem of employing the best caliber of staff. For the FBI in particular, the result is the lack of competent cybersecurity staff and a national security problem also. Most of the very best computer hackers it badly needs are non-standards, meaning people who don't have college degrees and who want to smoke marijuana on their way to the interview. The FBI and all federal agencies know this is a very serious fact, and are now, finally, after several years, ready to just get on with it to avoid serious cyber attacks. Let me explain even more. This is Beth Galletti, Amazon Senior Vice President of Human Resources. She knows the pain that doing drug tests and finding out that a potential employee uses marijuana is a big problem also. Beth stated, "We found that eliminating pre-employment testing for cannabis allows us to expand our applicant pool." And that's Amazon. I mean, consider the fact that nationwide, 4.4% of workers failed tests. Hence, dropping marijuana tests allows employers to consider hiring and retaining the small but growing share of applicants who use the drug. If Amazon, a trillion-dollar company, whose founder is the fourth richest man in the world, knows this, it's not hard to see why the federal government is now finally changing its attitude. We need to know that as recent as 20 years ago, marijuana was still illegal in the whole of the country. But if you look at this map, you can see that out of the 50 states, recreational marijuana is now legal for adults in over 20 states, along with Washington, D.C. Also, medical marijuana is legal in almost 40 states in D.C. However, despite individual states being able to legalize marijuana at the state level, when it comes to the federal level, it's always been a completely different story. This is because, under federal law, cannabis is still classified as a Schedule I substance under the Controlled Substance Act, meaning it's considered to have a high potential for dependency and no recognized medical use. I'll discuss this more later in the video, but let's just look into what effect this is having on federal agencies. To do this, we must consider the fact that when an FBI director starts to scream out for help, you definitely should know that this is a serious case. You see, as funny as it may sound, it's not a secret that just like other federal government agencies, the FBI too has been having a very hard time hiring cybersecurity experts, because many hackers tend to find more lucrative deals elsewhere. Deals that don't necessarily stop them from smoking weed, as the vast majority of US employers aren't required to test for drugs. Even Peter Thiel, the co-founder of PayPal and an early Facebook investor, once said, "A CEO can't really change things that much in many companies when it comes to marijuana." Thiel affirmed that you'd have to fire everybody and start over, and that's absolutely not possible. Well, attitudes are now changing. In June 2022, President Joe Biden called for the pardoning of all people convicted of simple cannabis possession at the federal level, and asked state governors to do the same. He tweeted, as I've said before, "No one should be in jail just for using or possessing marijuana. Today, I'm taking steps to end our failed approach." In April 2022, the House passed a landmark marijuana legalization bill, eliminating criminal penalties for anyone who manufactures, distributes, or possesses the substance. Also in June 2022, the Senate Intelligence Committee passed a provision that would prevent national security agencies from disqualifying job applicants based on past marijuana use. The provision says that security clearance cannot be denied based solely on the use of cannabis. If the bill passes, it will open up doors for many talented cybersecurity applicants who have previously been turned away due to marijuana use. This is something unthinkable just 8 years ago, when the former FBI Director James Comey first admitted this fact. But that is not all. The much-anticipated U.S. Senate bill to federally legalize marijuana and promote social equity was introduced in the middle of 2022. In July 2022, the Senate formally filed the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act. And on the 2nd of December 2022, President Biden also signed into law a bill that streamlines access to marijuana for medical research. It's expected to speed the issuance of government permits to scientists who want to study cannabis, whose medicinal promise has been widely touted but remains, with a few exceptions, unproved. This definitely shows a significant progression from 2014, when James V. Comey had to apologize for saying the obvious. He even had to say he was just joking around, and was just trying to inject some humor into the serious subject. As for the federal government, the movement toward making marijuana legal by President Biden may be portrayed as justice for those harmed by the unfair consequences of criminalization. But it all comes back to directly benefit the federal government immensely also. Federal agencies would now finally be able to hire without needing to consider an applicant's cannabis smoking lifestyle. Decriminalizing marijuana would encourage the best individuals in cybersecurity to apply to work with the FBI, where their expertise is highly sought after to compete against global hackers at its tech division. And lastly, federal workers who use cannabis will not need to worry about losing their jobs. If you've enjoyed this video, do give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.